Hey everyone! Hopefully my mic does not cut out. I feel like I'm getting trolled here, but it is the end of January in 2018, roughly 3 years after Apex 2015. Probably one of the biggest, most significant events in Melee history. So I figure I might as well talk about it for a little bit. Just want to give a quick recap of what Apex was. It was the Genesis before Genesis, at least for Winter Majors. In 2010-ish to 2015. If you wanted to go to a winter event, you went to Apex. And back then, you had less majors than you had today. So if you were a Smash player, you went to Apex, which was all the way in the East Coast. Now, historically speaking, Apex never ran really well as a series. Pools always ran late. There was no communication whether or not your pool got changed, so you get DQ'd randomly, and it wasn't your fault, frankly. Um, People had no idea of how to move or like where you were in bracket or what you had to do next. So oftentimes you would stay in an area. Your pool started at 2. Maybe you play your match at 6:30 or 7. It was really bad. Um, some days lasted till 2 a.m. just because it fell behind schedule. It was super crowded. Unless you were playing, you were kicked out of the venue. But overall, just to sum it up, it wasn't a really well run event. But because it was the only major, it sufficed as the slot, and there because it really didn't have much competition to that scale. Now, Apex 2015 was very interesting leading into the event. First off, there was controversy with Alex Strife taking advantage of certain people in the community, which ultimately a bunch of women came out to talk about the grievances that they've had, which was enough to put him out of leadership, rightfully so, and put a lot of eyes on the event, especially because it reached like mainstream media. So, or not mainstream, but like gamer media. I think Kotaku may have written an article on it. So there were a lot more eyes than normal because of controversy, because controversy brings in more attention. And secondly, Nintendo was sponsoring the event, which was the first ever, I believe, of Nintendo sponsoring a grassroots Smash event. So that was pretty cool. For people wondering what Nintendo provided to that event, just as an aside, I think they provided the right to buy controller adapters we use, and they help provide like N64 setups. I'm not 100% sure, but keep in mind that was worthwhile even if like people had to pay for them, because controller adapters in 2015 were like impossible to find. So imagine not being able to have Wii U adapters for the game. That would be awful. Now, what happened at Apex 2015, you could kind of see the writing on the wall. There were a lot of red flags going into the event on Thursday night, where um, Jungle Guy and I walked around the venue like we normally do, and we saw and noticed one thing right away, that the max capacity of the venue and the two spaces combined was about 500 people. And when you do the math and you add up all the people that were attending the event for Smash 4, for Brawl, for 64, and for Melee, um, you're just kind of like wondering, well, if this could fit 500 people max, well, in total, we probably have like anywhere from like 1,500 to 2,500 people attending the event. So already a huge red flag that we're going 3 to 5 times the max capacity. There's no way everybody's going to fit. So that was a huge question mark. And lo and behold, the next morning, this is when the big controversy starts, where the fire marshal literally says this venue is evicted, meaning that everybody has to leave. You cannot have people in here. And there were two reasons why. One for sure was that one of the spaces was condemned because it wasn't stable structurally enough. So randomly, the building could just collapse on like 100 smashers, and that'd be the end to that. And also it was just too overcrowded. There's no If the fire marshal came in regards to just looking at the venue, the number of people, like 4 p.m. when everything's up and running, I'm pretty sure they would have evicted or done something to kick everyone out anyway. But I'm happy they did, because it would have been really tragic and messed up if we did run the event and hundreds of smashers ended up losing their lives because of a negligent venue. So I'm happy for that. And also to add, the electricity issue was also its own problem, which no one really talks about. I think there's some issue with the power supply or whatever. So lo and behold, now we're on day one of a major. It's canceled. You have thousands of people at the venue wondering what the hell to do. Pools were supposed to be running, but it looks like nothing's going to happen. There's no venue. What do you do? So I think one of the coolest things about like tragedy or hard circumstances is that it forces people to be creative and to work together on a solution. Now, keep in mind, up until this point, Um, we really this was like the age of melee where everybody was trying to get in, and every TO or event organizer was trying to get their event big, but there wasn't really much collaboration as much as we see today, where like you see like Nintendo, Juggle Guy, Crimson Blur, they all like collaborate and talk to each other. But prior to this, everybody was kind of isolated in their own region. They ran their own events, they didn't share resources, they kind of did their own thing. But here, when duty calls, all the all the community leaders stepped up. They went to a hotel room and they had like a Geneva convention to figure out what can they do to salvage this event. You had you had Jabali, you know, calling every venue in New Jersey to see what we can get as a space. We had people redoing the schedule to see how they can fit everybody with minimal losses. Um, and you had people running ideas back and forth, like, can we run pools in the hotel rooms? What can we do to help make this tournament run? And not only that, normally now when something bad happens at a tournament today, usually what happens is we complain on Twitter, we say that the TS are the worst people ever, and we just kind of sit back and just like criticize everything else. But in this moment in time, we kind of realize it goes beyond this point where we really need to do something to make this tournament run. And you just had like even just like the normal people, like the normal attendees just ask like, how can I help and how can we contribute? What can we do to contribute and pull our weight to this? So you had eventually, fortunately, Jabali did find a venue, and Twitch, fronted the bill on it, which was very generous of them. And we had to move to a different venue that was like 35 like miles away, which is pretty demanding to do. But you had people, lining up to move CRTs, to move equipment. Dozens of people willing to carpool, arrange rides and communicate to the rest of the venue or the rest of the attendees, like, this is what's happening, this is what we got to do. And so it's one of the few instances where we can really say that everybody, the community came together and we worked out and solved the problem. There's very few instances where we kind of see that today because we have it pretty well. I'm not saying like, oh, like these spoiled new kids or whatever, but very few moments in Smash history where we can really say we dropped down, all our complaints and we just came together to help each other out to see something run. And Apex 2015 was one of those. We get to the new venue. Nintendo and Sheridan and other people create a new schedule. We create a new floor plan. We lay out the layouts, and everything's up and running. And despite losing the first day of a major, we ended up still running the event decently well. Granted, a lot of people forget this. Melee Grand Finals lasted till 3:30 a.m. Um, but keep in mind, for running a day late, or for running without a day, that's really good. So overall, the collaboration was, in terms of a leadership standpoint, one of the highlights of Apex 2015. Of course, we had the Nintendo sponsorship. We had Twitch contributing a bigger role. They ran a really nice after party, which no one was able to attend because no one could get to the after party because there was like a blizzard in New Jersey during that time. This was Nintendo's first event that they really sponsored. And aside from all the community stuff I just mentioned, I think from a narrative standpoint, this was a really special moment that really I don't think can be replicated ever again. First off, this was the rise of Leffen who won Beast. We were debating whether or not he belongs in the god tier of players with the other five. And keep in mind, this is also one of the few times where we had all six of the top six players, if you're not counting Plup, at the same event. Whereas that's never really happened ever since Apex 2015. Someone's always been missing. So there might have been another event afterwards. I may be forgetting something, but off the top of my head, I do believe this is the last event that featured all of the OG top six. We got to see what this is one of PP's last legendary runs that we've seen in history. And not only that, what was really cool about this event was that the production and everybody working together to create an awesome show. So not only was the top 8 amazing, the top 32 was amazing, the audience was amazing. We had the Salty Suite, one of the best Salty Suites of all time. We had the Chillin' Rap, we had Might Be, Shine Until You're Crying, we had Bizarro um, do I'm gonna obliterate you, and he does the kick thing. Um, And what's pretty cool is that this was like the first time a lot of like new leaders came into the community and explored like the Smash community for the first time. So lo and behold, the conversations that Sean had from Smash GG with Juggle Guy and Crimson Blur ultimately led to the creation of Smash GG. If you guys are familiar with Hotbid, this was Hotbid's first major that he actually traveled to since he lived in the area at the time. And this is the first time I got to meet Hotbid. So there were a lot of new players into the field that could say, "Hey, this is my first ever major I've ever attended." And so a lot of stuff started because of Apex 2015. A lot of business relationships, Smash GG, the Nintendo relationships, although you guys can debate whether or not that was actually a good thing. Twitch's escalated involvement, and overall just putting on like a kick-ass show. Now, to be fair, I'm really talking from a melee-centric point of view. I am aware because of the day one losses like Brawl, Smash 4, and 64 probably had some sacrifices they had to make um, due to melee being the main thing, and I think a lot of people were upset with that. A lot of DQs because traveling to it. Unfortunately, we had shuttles going from the old hotel to the new venue, but shuttles could only take so many people, and when you're limited on space for like 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. pools, unfortunately you can't take everyone. And even taking an Uber at that time was like really expensive. It's probably like 60, $70, which isn't really realistic for people. And Uber wasn't as popular or as well known, so Smashers weren't on that technology back then. So all in all, we leave Apex with a bunch of awesome moments in that we saw the community come together to work together for the very first time. We saw collaboration between everybody. This is the first event that Nintendo sponsored. It was an awesome event for top 32 and top 8 for Melee. It was one of the best salty suites of all time. And we really saw new players get involved, like Smash GG and like Hotbit and other people into the melee scene through Apex. So that's why, to me, Apex 2015 was a really important event in Smash history.